Getting perfect stats in Palworld is insane. There's IVs, passive skills, the soul condenser, and also alpha pals just have better stats that you can't get anywhere else, and now we have an IV calculator, so you can plug in the stats on the pals you've been working so hard to breed just to find out they have garbage IVs. That also means we now have the ranges for all of the stats of all the pals, so min-maxing your pals is absolutely insane, and this video is going to try to break it down. If you enjoy, please leave a like, comment your thoughts down below, and share this video with all your friends that play Palworld because it really helps. And we have a lot of breakdowns and some other things to go through. Fun stuff. So, let's talk about how this works. All pals in the game have the exact same base stats at level 0. 500 hit points, 100 attack, 50 defense. But then the base stats have a crazy calculation that goes into it with species-specific scaling. Each species has a different hit point, attack, and defense value that is used to determine how many stats they gain per level up. Pals gain 50% of the hit point value and 7.5% of the attack and defense value when they level up. Those are the minimum stats gained, and they are improved by the IVs. So that's what everyone wants to know. How do IVs work in Palworld? Gives you up to 30%. There's a lot of math and formulas and calculations and rounding and stuff, but that's what the calculator is for. You can just kind of click on any pal, you can see its level, and then you can also find out the minimum and maximum stats, and that's pretty much where we're at. It's like going to Bulbapedia and then seeing, okay, max IVs, max EVs gives me this stat potential for a Pokemon. Well, now you get to do all of this fun stuff for Palworld. Oh boy, Palworld has IVs, and it takes more work to get a perfect pal than in Pokemon, which means you're going to need energy to fuel your grind, and I recommend G Fuel. Best energy drink I found, and it's the only thing keeping me going for all the videos I make and all the crazy grinding I do in games. Use code Verlisify for 20% off your G Fuel order. Also, hit the sales tab and you get 20% off on top of the sale price. G Fuel also has caffeine-free options like the hydration formula, which has the focus complex in it, so it's still going to up your performance. I talked about pal stats when the data mine dropped, and because of the spreadsheet, now every website has all the pal stats on it, so you can use that to kind of get an idea of how powerful pals are. But then with the calculator, you can see all the stats and potential. So at level 5, you know, we can have anywhere between 675 hit points and 720 hit points. But then if we dial it up to level 50, we can see like the true potential of a pal. So 225 to 2700, whatever on the attack and defense. So comparing that to an Anubis gets pretty crazy. And that's where you can really see the differences come in. So Chicopee is 60 on everything. Anubis is going to be 120, 130, 100. So we can go back to the calculator, we can pull up Chicopee's stats, and yeah, the difference is going to be thousands of hit points, hundreds of attack and defense stats, and then that's going to make the damage calculation, all of the combat stuff pretty crazy. And then passive skills and enhancements are only going to make that difference wider, so the best Chicopee is still going to be much worse than the worst possible Anubis. Now, IVs are called talent in the game's code, so if you see someone referring to it as a pal's talent, that's what they're talking about, and it's a number between 0 and 100. So in Pokemon, it's 0 and 31, in Palworld, it's 0 and 100. Determining the IV bonuses for your pals, this number represents the percentage of the maximum IV bonus, which is 30%. Also, there's a few other things that people have noticed. Lucky and Alpha Pals have minimum talent values of 50, making them neat for talent value breeding. Right. Now, we don't fully understand IV inheritance in Palworld, but the person that made the spreadsheet and has done like all of this crazy stuff with the posts, they think that it's going to take one of the parents randomly and then apply some kind of a multiplier to it, so you can get a higher or lower stat for the offspring of one of the parents. Which means for breeding, you want to start with IVs first and then work on the passive skills. And also there's been other developments on like inheriting passives in the best way. So I've got a lot of work to do now since pal stats are complicated, and it gets even crazier. Some of the alpha boss pals have different scaling values than the normal base versions shown here. All alphas except for 10 pal species have the exact same primary stats as the normal version. So then they updated it to show the alpha pals that have better stats, and this is going to be for Jet Dragon, So that's on the spreadsheet. And yeah, Jet Dragon can have over 10,000 hit points, but if you breed it, it's going to have much lower because that's going to take the PAL's base stats. Here's my Jet Dragon from my playthrough. It has over 10,000 health. The math checks out. But if you were to breed Jet Dragon to get like legendary and ferocious and lucky and just make like the ultimate Jet Dragon, it's actually going to have much lower hit point values, capping out at 4,300 at level 50. And we can see that in the spreadsheet. Anubis has 120 hit points. It has higher hit points than Jet Dragon, which only has 110, unless you catch the Alpha one. And because you're catching the Overworld Alpha Jet Dragon, it's going to have high natural IVs, which does make it good for breeding on the IVs and passive skills, but then you're losing out on the insane hit point bonus that it has. Now the calculator has Alpha Melpaka, Necromus, Sparkit, Memoris Christ, Frostallion, Frostallion Noct, which is weird because you can only get that through breeding, so I don't think you can even get an Alpha Frostallion Noct, even though it's programmed to have better stats. Alpha Jet Dragon, and Alpha Palladius. So there's a few exceptions and considerations, but for the most part, Jet Dragon's super strong, and a lot of people say, yeah, just breed for the passive skills, that way it does more damage, since it's pretty much going to survive no matter what. Also, by playing around with an IV or stats calculator, you can see the other changes that affect a PAL's stats. So you can get 20% from the condensing, and you can also get 30% from the enhancement. So the PAL Soul enhancement and the condensing is going to do crazy stuff to your stats, giving you over 6,000 hit points, almost 1,100 attack, and over 800 defense on just average stats. So you can see like the IV accuracy right here being about 15%. And that's before you put in the other passives, also with Burly Body giving a crazy amount of extra defense, that's going to make up for a lot of the hit point loss, and then that opens up like some other passive skills that you want inside of it. And then you can do something crazy like Legend, Burly Body, Musclehead, Ferocious, and your PAL stats can still be pretty crazy, but the upper end goes even higher to 6,700 hit points. Also, interesting thing to note about the Alpha PAL stats, so I wanted to see what the difference was with Memoris Christ. At level 50, it can have 5,600, 538, 488. With this, it's 5,625, 514, and then 488 being the max. So the Alpha Memoris Christ can have a slightly higher attack, which means, yeah, breeding Memoris Christ is just going to be better when you have the passives involved. Now I want to go through and find a random Alpha PAL and just kind of see how the stats are. So level 18 Rushor doesn't have anything upgraded. Did it just get some good stats? 212, 169, 1461. It also has no passives, so there we go. Let's see what we have. Above, yeah, so it's all going to be above 50. So it looks like the talent number is around 70, 60, and then 87. So not max, but a little bit above average stats, or at least getting a decent little bit of bonus from the IVs. So the calculator is simple and straightforward to use. You can also use it to kind of like plan out stats of PALs that you want to breed and create, and then also worry about like the passive skills and those kinds of stats. And then you can also use it to find breeding parents for the max IVs. So yeah, getting perfect stats in Palworld, that's going to be wacky. And also like raids and stuff have been confirmed on the roadmap, so this could be a way of relieving the breeding stress on PALs if the raid bosses just have naturally better stats than is possible through breeding, also creating like other dynamics that you want inside the game, and potentially depending on like how competitive this game gets or how like crazy it develops, you could also maybe have a way of like injecting passive skills into PALs, since there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on with the game. So PAL Stats Explained. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.